And welcome back, everyone, to this Monday edition of the Three-Man Week College Basketball Show, presented by SBROdds.com, Sportsbook Review, the fine folks that make this all possible. Before you do anything, open up the SBROddsPage.com. Line value is king. That is the motto of the Three-Man Weave. SBR picks /NCAAB. I'm just going to go right with the plugs to start here, fellas, because I don't want to address what happened on Friday and Saturday. It was a weekend wipeout. But again, SBRpicks.com /NCAAB. Lots of better analysis and more accurate picks will be there. Ours have been in the red recently, but hey, it's a bounce back week. It's a fresh new slate ahead of us here, Ky. I'm feeling better. I am, but I'm glad we didn't have a show yesterday. I would have worried that the mob would have been after us with pitchforks.
Yeah, Friday was a tough day for SBR. It happens, Matt. I've said it before. I'll say it again. It happens. What can you do?
Yeah,
I'm going to talk about something else besides that.
Let's change the subject.
Talk about the Iowa Hawkeyes, guys. Iowa just lost to Indiana again. They've lost now 3 of their last 4 games. Clearly a good team, but man, CJ Frederick apparently is like the keystone of their little arch block here. And
he's the National Player of the Year, not Garza.
Yeah,
CJ Frederick.
You take CJ Frederick away, and the arch crumbles, man. In between that stretch where they lost to Illinois and Ohio State, very respectable losses, but swept by Indiana. They didn't cover against Michigan State, which is somehow like a bad effort these days. So Iowa, a little bit in flux right now. Still number 5 in KenPom, still number 1 offense in the country, still a good team, but just something to be aware of. Like, wow, Iowa, Jim, is struggling.
Yeah, I would make the argument, and I kind of said this on Twitter, that the Michigan State game was the worst effort of their last 4, despite being the only win. Like, Michigan State has been awful outside of that game and almost won in Iowa City. So, yeah, they need to get Frederick back out there and need to rediscover their mojo. I'm going to stay in the same state, Ky. We need to take a shot for Drake because they are undefeated no more. They played. I think they played 6 straight poor first halves, and it finally came back and bit them. Yep. They didn't make shots this weekend against Valpo, and they scored like 0.75 points per possession against the Crusaders on Sunday. Now, no longer in the ranks of the unbeaten. They've got Loyola Chicago coming up on the schedule. I'm a little fearful for Drake. It feels like regression is biting them. We need to start treating them like a mortal team again, not this insane, invincible cover machine.
Right. Yeah, Jim, I'll just piggyback on that. Was basically my thought too. It's just, the Drake gravy train is now expired. We've saw how in the second legs of some of these games, they really put the pedal to the metal after the scare in the first leg. Certainly thought they would do that against Valpo after they did exactly that against Illinois State. Not the case. I think Valparaiso played very well on both ends. A team that's kind of sneaking up the bottom of the Missouri Valley totem pole. So I think that's a little bit to do with Valpo's quiet ascension, even though Drake was, very much due for some regression. All right, some learnings have been spewed. Let's talk about tonight's teeny tiny slate. We'll hit the big games, but try and work in some chat mob questions, as we always do. Starting with the biggest bash of them all, Gonzaga at BYU. The biggest barrier between the Zags' quest for perfection likely stands in their way tonight here, Ky. Already took down BYU once at home this season. Got off to a really big lead to start that game, and then the final score was closer to 17. It was a little bit misleading. The last 3 games, I just want to note, the Zags have been off to slow starts. I believe we've endorsed Zags first half as the right bet here if you want to back them. Has not been the case the last 3 games. Down 19-14 to San Diego to start, and away by 28. Pepperdine got up 10 against them, and Zags ended up winning by 22. And then Pacific led by 7 last game with 15 to play. Zags still won by 18. Do you think it's a similar type of narrative tonight here, Kyle?
It could be. I'm not really worried about Gonzaga in this game. Like you said, they won the first meeting. They had no trouble scoring, 1.18 points per possession. BYU cannot stop them. I don't see them stopping them tonight. On the other hand, BYU had a bad shooting game, but they had 16 turnovers. There's no reason to believe that improves. Gonzaga, when they want to, can play the best, one of the best defenses in the country. I think it's going to be another game in the mid-70s tempo-wise that favors Gonzaga. You cannot run with this team, and BYU has shown the willingness to do that this year already. And I just want to remind everyone, only one team has played Gonzaga within double digits this year. That's West Virginia. That was on December 2nd. This team is elite, tier above everybody else. It's a strong lean to the Zags at -11 for me.
Yeah, I just think they've been bored. They're 2-6 in their last 8 against the spread. We've talked about it with Baylor and with Gonzaga. When they look across the court and they see a team that compels them, it's like, all right, this is a team that's going to challenge us. They've lost to BYU in the past. Guys on this roster have. I think that this wakes them up. and brings them out of their funk here. I'm going to take Gonzaga -11. I just think getting a spread low-ish with this team where they, just have to basically win by double digits and you're in good shape against a worthy-ish opponent.
Yeah,
I'm going to ride with them. It's easier to cover this than it is like -27 against Pepperdine or something. Like this is a game that sets up better for Gonzaga. So I will take -11.
Jim, I'm going to join you there. I didn't realize it actually dropped all the way down to 11 flat. Yeah, that's for sure within show official play territory for me. So I will come along for the ride.
Let's do it.
Ky, have fun sitting on the sidelines when the Zags go up 30 in the first half.
My public play shall be small today.
Yes, we are all definitely gun shy after the Friday debacle. But again, new week, new slate. Hopefully some new juju is coming our way. Next up on the outline, Ohio State at Maryland. Matt, focus on the outline order. Come on, you're better than that, kid. The Bucks are blazing right now, Jim. 6-2 in their last 8 against the number. I believe you had some action on them against the Iowa Hawkeyes, who we have talked about are sort of in disarray without C.J. Frederick. The Turtles feisty, though, Jim. So I don't know. You going to go back to the Ohio State well tonight here?
I'm not. These two are kind of similar teams to me. There's a lot of bigger wings that can make plays with the ball. I think Dante Scott versus E.J. Liddell is an awesome matchup. Two of undersized bigs, but they can really play physical with each other down in the block. Each can step out to the perimeter a little bit, move their feet defensively. It's a really fun, intriguing matchup. I mean, Ohio State's off that big Iowa performance, like you said, that outright win on the road. Now they go on the road again. I'm not confident enough to back them here, even though that offense has been like nearly invincible this year. It's number 2 in the conference behind Iowa. I've been super, super impressed with them. Seth Towns is starting to make a little more of an impact too. Yeah, the lean is maybe towards Ohio State on a number basis, but the spot, I feel like Maryland sets up a little bit better here with where Ohio State is.
Right.
Ky?
Yeah, Matt, 6-2 in the last 8 against the number, 7-1 straight up. They're approaching 1-seed territory. They have the most Q1 wins in the country. Ohio State does.
I think a lot of places have them as the 4th one right now.
Yeah, I mean, they've just been incredible. Like you said, Jim, number 2 offense in the Big Ten, number 4 in the country. Like they're behind Iowa in the Big Ten. So, I mean, that's not the worst thing in the world, right? But the spread's 4 points. That shows you how good the Big Ten is. We're talking about Maryland, who is one of the worst teams in the Big Ten and still just a 4-point underdog to a potential 1 seed in Ohio State. Terps are tough, man. I think they're a very good basketball team still, despite the Penn State loss the other day. And I think they actually match up pretty well with Ohio State. Ohio State's not huge. They're not going to overwhelm you with size. I know Ky is as strong as anybody in the country. That guy is a beast.
Yes,
but I actually think Maryland has some counter punches today to Ohio State. Spread just a little bit too small for me to back the Terps, Matt.
Yeah, no take on the side for me. I'm, kind of with Jim. I'm just shocked at how efficiently Ohio State's scoring. This is a team, the roster doesn't jump out at you with, proven scoring commodities, but guys like Dwayne Washington and C.J. Walker, even since he's come back, has been really nice as well. So I think we have to take this seriously. However, I'm not backing them here today. I'm with both of you in that I think scoring will be in a high supply. So it's a high total, though, for 139. I'm probably won't make it an official show play, but I would certainly lean over there. All right, back to the what I intended to start off the last game breakdown with. Oklahoma State at Kansas. From Big 10 to Big 12 we go. The Pokes were without their high-flying freshman Matthew Alexander Moncrief in that double overtime barn-burning win over Texas here. So it kind of sets up to be maybe a letdown sleepy spot here, Ky, for the Pokes as they head to Fall Allen Fieldhouse. But I don't know, man. At some point, you got to start taking seriously what the supporting cast is doing. Even with Isaac Likely only scoring 2 points last game, Caleb Boone took flight with 20-plus, I believe. Are you starting to buy into what the non-Cade freshmen are doing here?
Yeah, I think Oklahoma State's really good, but they're still a confusing team to me. They still have efforts that are just like, what? Like right. They followed up. They lost to TCU very recently, and they beat Texas. This team's kind of all over the map. And then you get Kansas here in a spot where they absolutely need to win. One, you're avenging a loss earlier in the year to Oklahoma State. Two, you're currently 27th in KenPom, the lowest they've ever been since the site started. 2-5 in the last 7 games, 6-5 in Big 12. I think the spot really sets up nicely for Kansas, avoiding 500 in league play, avenging the loss. You're at home. Everything kind of points to Kansas here. Expecting a big game, Jim, from David McCormick.
Yeah, I just want, like you guys said, I want to give it up to Cade's supporting cast. He's gotten all the attention this year, but he hasn't played that great in their biggest games. His O rating's under 100 in KenPom A and B games. So like their stiffest competition, he hasn't been very efficient, but they've won a bunch of those. They've hung around playing without Moncrief last time. Even it's been a very impressive team. I think we said that when they played TCU that they seem to play to their competition. Yeah. So I do think, like, if you want to throw, I don't know, we don't really endorse parlays here, but Kansas money line seems safer than taking giving the points here, just because Oklahoma State does seem to hang around against these very good big time teams.
Yeah.
So I've got nothing here, unfortunately. Matt?
I'm going to take KU at -5. 5 is a key number. I'm seeing the juice is shaded that way at most of the books on the SBRoddspage.com, but I would take -5 and drink the juice at -115, -112, depending on what you're showing. I just think it's their game. I really do. There's no other way to put it. I kind of mentioned some of the interior, potential mismatches. I think KU has to establish McCormick. There's been games where he's been basically a non-factor, and they lean too much on Jalen Wilson, Ky Baji, Marcus Garrett to make plays. And while they're capable, that's not a sustainable offense that can score at an efficient rate for all 40 minutes. So this is a good placement here for McCormick to get going. So I will take the Jayhawks -5. Last game here before we get to chat mob inquiries. A SoCon battle here. A little mid-major action cracking the first section of our outline. UNC Greensboro at Furman. Two teams we expected to battle, duke it out for the top prize in the SoCon preseason. A tough start for Greensboro, but man, the last few weeks, month, they've been on fire. Winners of 7 straight. On the flip side are Paladins, whatever you want to call them. I call them Paladins. I know it's actually the Paladins, but the Paladins, the Aladdins are certainly reeling. Questionable as to why they've been struggling so much here, Jim. But do you think that the Spartans keep it rolling here, or do you think Furman gets back on track?
I big lean towards UNC Greensboro on the road here. They're actually 6-2 against the number, again, in the last 8 against Furman. I think their athleticism just gives Furman a little bit of issues. The defensive pressure, Wes Miller rolls out that 3-quarter court 1-2-2, slows you down, prevents Furman from getting into their offense until later. And then, like I said, they don't have that 1v1 guy that can create if need be. There's so much length on the other end of the court. It's just tough. And Furman, they've been bad. 1-7 against the spread their last 8 games. They've just struggled. Their only cover was a very late extension against East Tennessee State that they probably didn't deserve, to be quite honest. They've been very poor against the number. So would definitely lean towards Greensboro here. I'm not going to make it an official show play, but it's kind of like UNC Duke to me, almost a mini version of. It seems like a coin flip.
Take the points. Yeah. How about that?
Yeah, I think Furman's sitting 4th right now in the league. Tells you how good the SoCon is. This is a very good conference. They've lost 3 or 4. Losing to ETSU and versus Wofford, it's not that bad, like in the grand scheme of things. Even at VMI, it's a tough place to play this year, but still way worse than we thought this year, as we talked about. Greensboro does have a clear advantage inside, on the glass especially. I'm not as worried about their pressure just because Furman does have so many ball handlers, but I do agree the number kind of leans towards UNCG. I'll say one thing about regression from a shooting perspective, which we've talked about in other teams this year. Teams are shooting 39% against Furman from 3 in SoCon play, just 29% against UNCG. Now, UNCG's perimeter defense is better than Furman's defense, but you'd expect those numbers to be a little lower and higher, respectively. Also, Furman, who has a ton of shooters offensively, just 8th in the league in three-point percentage. Eventually, they're going to start hitting shots. Spot tells me Furman. Number kind of leans towards Greensboro, Matt.
No, valid points on the shooting regression there, Ky. Greensboro was a victim of poor shooting luck to start. They're starting to knock down some of those shots. It definitely feels like it's now Furman's turn. They're next up in the Lady Luck line here for some good fortune. Another note, though, this is a quasi back-to-back setup. These two teams do play again on Wednesday, so I don't really have a take from that from a handicapping perspective for this game, but just know that is a thing. So, all right, chat mob questions. Who stepped up and took the reins as czar here as I continue to fail?
I got you, Maddie. I got you.
Thank you, Jimbo.
Phew.
I left you guys stressful. Oh, gosh.
Ky had nothing. Ky had nothing. I love it.
All right. I was like, surely Jim took notes.
We've got a couple people asking. I mean, there's really a lot of questions about the SWAC today, a lot of questions about the extra board. We'll start with J.A. asking about Gardner Webb at USC Upstate. Gardner Webb, a little bit of a road favorite here. Upstate coming off the Radford series. They got absolutely blitzed in the second game, their first series out of shutdown. Matt, anything for you on this one?
Yeah, I did lean upstate. I didn't take it though, but it was right on the cusp number wise for me. I just think they come out and play a lot better after that Radford debacle. They've been really strong like the 5-6 games before that. I think the sweep of Longwood convinced me that this is actually a pretty good team.
Yeah, I've got nothing there.
Yeah.
Ky, how about you for? Let's see. I think he also asked about JA also asked about Alabama A&M hosting Arkansas Pine Bluff in the SWAC. I think you and I have been on Pine Bluff a couple times recently. Are you backing them today?
We have. I'm not. I'm staying away this game. Alabama A&M is a really good team, I think, SWAC-wise, relatively speaking. This team's got some fight in them, Matt. The Bulldogs.
Yeah, I think I tried to preach to both of you how good this Bulldog team was. I like the under here in this game. This is Peanut Butter will play a zone. I think that slows the tempo down. Alabama A&M's defense is lights out. I think both teams just throw rocks at each other, and it's a pretty bricky affair. I like the under.
Yep. All right, Matt, I'll go to you this one. Job Gunderson asking San Jose State at San Diego State. This is, again, the bad teams of the Mountain West against the very good teams of the Mountain West, which has not treated the bottom five well. The spread is up around 28, so clearly
it's massive.
Odds makers know that San Diego State kills bad teams. I lean towards San Diego State just because, man, I don't want to back an awful team against San Diego State right now.
Yeah, again, another one of those quasi back-to-backs these two teams will play again on Wednesday. We've seen San Diego State run out these bottom-tier Mountain West teams. San Jose State's been without Richard Washington the last few games. They've been better without him. They've won 3 in a row. So swept Air Force coming off a win against New Mexico before that. Could be a classic Ewing theory there, but I think they get trounced today. I just won't take it, Jim. The number's too high. That's why.
It's Ducky Racing saying he thinks Mississippi Valley State is a lock today. Plus 19 against
I like
Alabama
the Delta
State.
Devils. I do.
I kind of lean your way, Matt. I think the number's gotten a little too inflated. Alabama State's offense has not been very good. They got to score a lot to win here. Mississippi Valley State's been a little feistier with Keandre Jefferson into the lineup, a guy who doesn't even have a KenPom page yet. He
fell out of the clouds, just fell from the clouds and scored 28 in his debut. It's like, wow. Okay.
And they did get thrashed by Alabama A&M, but like that reminded me of last year. That was Mississippi Valley State's only D1 wins. So I think the young Alabama A&M team had revenge on the mind.
Yes.
I think there's a chance the Delta Devils are feisty and keep it under 20, which would be a cover today.
I'm with you, Jim. I won't make it an official show play because I can't. The credibility of us posting Mississippi Valley State would be a damning look. So
if they lose by 40, people are like, what are they doing? Yeah. Let's see what else we got here. We'll stay on the extra board. Andrew Carr asking if Stony Brook gets revenge on UMBC. We had several other questions about this game, so apologies for not mentioning everyone's name. I kind of think UMBC wins again without Policelli in the lineup for Stony Brook, but it has been bet up a little bit. I had a lean towards it at 2, but nothing at 3.5 is what I'm seeing now, so nothing for me.
Yeah, I've watched him twice now without Policelli. He means a lot. Former Dayton transfer. The Flyers could certainly use him this year, so Stony Brook's lucky to have him. He's been a big boon to the offense, but without him, they lack that perimeter threat. So I can't take Stony Brook here.
Yeah. Cordarrelle Lindsay and Nick Loya both asking about Austin Peay laying 12.5 on the road at Tennessee Martin, who does have Cam Holden back. I mean, Austin Peay's been playing really well. Their offense is good enough to go nuts here against a terrible UT Martin defense. But I'm not positive they'll be engaged enough to avoid a sort of backdoor or to allow UT Martin from scoring a bunch. So this number's right around where it should be to me. I have no take.
Yeah,
nothing.
I was going to take the over, Jim. Third game in 5 days for both, so it's my only reason why I stayed away.
Okay. A Hotmail asked me if I'm going back to the SIUE under again with their schedule and with their early tip here. Ky, do you have a lean on side or total there?
Yeah, I'm fading SIU Edwardsville because you should be. Eastern Kentucky -10 is all this spread is. I mean, yeah, I like EKU here.
Yeah, it's been bet up, opened 7.5 at Chris, and it's just been hammered. People are all over that SIUE schedule spot. Eastern Kentucky just played 2 tough ones against Austin Peay and Murray State.
Yeah.
I'm not taking the under just because of the way EKU plays. They press, they run. I think they can get SIUE in an up and down game. It is a high total, but I lean towards Eastern Kentucky just kind of running them out. It's tough to have legs against a press at this point.
Right. They got Kurt Lewis back last game, Jim, so they're pretty close to full strength. He's a key part of that press. And we saw SIUE struggle with Tennessee State's pressure, Ky, but EKU's pressure is a whole different animal.
Yep. All right, let's get one more, and then we'll go back to the outline, save the rest for later. The last one I'll hit here is the other early tip here. This is Quinnipiac and Fairfield on a back-to-back. Quinnipiac destroyed Fairfield yesterday. Fairfield was off a COVID shutdown. They were super hot from the outside, 11 of 22 from deep. Not something we really have come to expect from Quinnipiac. Ky, what do you lean in this one?
Official show play here, Jim. We're going with the under in this game. First of all, the total is 4 points higher than yesterday that it closed at. It's an overreaction to the score in the first game. Quinnipiac, like you said, 11 or 22 from deep. They scored 1.18 points per possession. I don't see that happening again. And even Fairfield scored more than it should have in that game against a pretty good Quinnipiac defense and just an atrocious Fairfield offense. So under 133, 133 and a half is a show play for me, guys.
Yeah, 133. I'm going to join you, Ky. Under 133.
Cool.
I'm coming along too. Make it a consensus.
There we go. All right,
Thanks,
we're having fun. Okay, let's go back to the outline. I'll store up a couple more chat mob questions for later.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jim, for the rock. ACC showdown here. Miami, Florida against North Carolina is where we resume. Poor Miami, man. I just feel bad for Jim Larinaga. I want to give him a hug. It's like the third year in a row he's dealt with a slew of injuries. This year, no different. And then now it's not injuries. It's a brutal home loss, Virginia Tech. So you got to wonder where the psyche of this Miami team is right now, Ky. But I think this line is way too high against a North Carolina team that's, we've been thinking they're going to start to hit the turbo and go into destroyer mode, but they really haven't. I mean, they beat Duke last game, whoop-de-doo. I mean, we know Duke's not any great team. So it looks like the Canes will be close-ish to full strength tonight. I will take them at +10. Are you joining me here?
Not joining. Leaning your way, though. We've seen a slightly healthier Miami team these last two games. As you said, they beat Duke, and they took Virginia Tech to overtime. Really two very good efforts. Yeah, the spread's just too high, in my opinion. UNC has looked slightly better, but they still got killed by Clemson very recently. Caleb Love finally played well against Duke, so that's encouraging for their future. Game one, by the way, was a 2-point game. Miami was 3 for 16 from three, but UNC was 12 for 41 from inside the arc. Like, I didn't know that's possible for this team to shoot that poorly inside the arc. That's not going to happen again. The real angle here, matchup-wise, Canes have size. UNC has a front court advantage over every team in the country, but Miami can at least put up a little bit of a fight because they have a lot of size, Jim, up front.
Yeah, I think Miami was maybe on track to win that game until Nazir Brooks fouled out. They lost that ability to battle up front with size. So as long as he can stay on the court, that's huge. Miami definitely feisty as an underdog. I'm kind of skeptical Likes plays, but I also think that Caleb Love monster game against Duke, that was his Super Bowl. It was Super Bowl weekend. He had geared up for that one. Like, I came to UNC to play against Duke. He had a monster game. I would be shocked if he plays well in this game, to be quite honest. I think he's going to kind of lay an egg, a little bit of a stinker, not anywhere near as focused for this one, just 2 days later off that, basically 48 hours after the Duke game. I think Miami's the right spot and the right number here, but I can't quite get there to take it a show play. I'm sorry.
Well, I can't get there, Jim. I'm going to go off the shoot from the hip here. This will be my best bet. I've been trying to decide which take I should take as my best bet, but I will take Canes here. As Jim mentioned, if the real Caleb Love shows up tonight, the one that's been pretty erratic all season, I think the Canes have the better backcourt, plain and simple. So you bet the better perimeter team with 10 points. I think that's the right side. Go Canes. All right, to the American Conference we go here. SMU at East Carolina. These Pirates, Mr. McKeon, have been awfully good the last few games, knocking off Houston and then giving Memphis all they could handle as well, despite getting down early. But I'm going to Jim on this one because this is a pony discussion, Ky. I know you're basically not a part of this love triangle.
Fair
Jim,
enough.
It's been a rocky relationship for us with these Mustangs. Fresh off blowing a 20-point lead to not cover against Tulsa. My number likes them here again today. I'm trying to play them, but I need you to convince me here. Tell me why we should go back.
Here's why you shouldn't, Matt.
Okay.
Do you know how many games they've covered full game in their last 9?
Not many.
It feels like 0, but I'm going to guess 1. Okay, 1. All right.
They played East Carolina on December 16th, covered that one, and since they've only covered once. That was against UCF. Multiple times they've collapsed as a favorite and let someone inside the number. They've hung on to win against Memphis last time out as well, but they're just a bad against the spread team, especially in the second half. They can't hang on to leads, which is weird for a team that's got a great point guard that can handle the ball. They turned it over so sloppily in the last minute last game. It's a mess with this team. I can't really get on board with them right now, even though spot-wise seems to set up well. East Carolina's played 2 great games in a row, beating Houston, almost winning at Memphis. And SMU has handled them once already this season, but I am staying far away from this Ponies team right now, Matt. So did that work? Did I talk you into it?
I'm going first half. So it's basically like I don't want any part of the second half debacles anymore. So I'll make a first half -3 an official show play. How about that? Is that our first half bet of the year?
Let me make sure your number is allowed there, Matt.
I saw -3 with juice. Juice shaded that way.
Yeah, -3 works. -3.
I'll talk.
Perfect.
I'll talk a little bit here real quick on this game. First, Ducky Racing, give Penny credit. I'm not going to give him too much credit, Ducky. That should have been an easy cover against East Carolina, the way they played in the first half, and he completely blew it. So I'm not giving Penny much credit. His offense still
some
stinks.
credit. I'll give him partial credit.
He has a top 10 team from a talent perspective on paper, and he's playing like a top 50 team. So
narrowly beating ECU off of the Houston win.
Yeah,
it's not something that I'm going to be heaping praise on.
I'm not giving him much credit. ECU, man. I guess they're getting better. That's all I have to say about that. I am staying away. I think it's going to be kind of ugly. I would actually lean the under would be my lean if I had to pick a play here, Matthew.
Yeah, hey, we're not disrespecting the Pirates. We got Jaden Gardner as our profile pick for today's show. So we have noticed what Mr. Dooley's doing out there in Greenville, Carolina, I think is where they're located.
I think
check my geography there. I think Greenville. We've had this dispute before. All right, next game here, Big Ten basketball, specifically Ky, Nebraska ball at Minnesota, as I like to call them, home Minnesota. The Gophers off 3 straight losses. Man, it feels like a ripe spot for the Gophers classic, 3-point barrage here, a runaway against Nebraska, playing their second game coming out of COVID. I think we have to tip our cap to some degree for Nebraska being able to hang around with Michigan State after reading about how terrible of a coach situation they had. Like we said, I think 13 of their tier 1 personnel had it. They didn't make many shots, and they still were able to keep it close here, Ky. Although Michigan State, we know, is not a good basketball team, so maybe that's more of an indictment on them. What do you see here tonight?
Well, I wrote that down, Matt. I think Nebraska's cover against Michigan State was an indictment on Michigan State. Yes. Nebraska won the second half against Michigan State. That's terrible. I mean, they're coming off almost a month layoff, and as you said, they had a terrible COVID experience. 13 guys had it. They should not have been even close in that game. Michigan State, I mean, questionable all around the season. And yeah, home Minnesota, man. I'm going back to the well. This is my best bet. Minnesota -11, best bet. They were mortally wounded against the Terps. They lost at home, but the Terps have that away road magic, so maybe it just kind of like offset the good juju there. Minnesota's better than Michigan State, and I don't think it's even like a question. Minnesota's better, and they're at home. I think they punk Nebraska. I don't think it's even close. I think the Huskers will still be a little bit rusty. Like you said, they shot terribly. They scored like 0.8 points per possession. It wasn't very much, and they scored 56 points. So I like Minnesota here. Tempo should be fairly high in this game too, Jim.
Yeah, Ky, let me get you 10.5 on this game.
Take 10.5.
A little bit of Nebraska money. So
I think on Nebraska, huh? Interesting.
Yeah, that's shocking to me. Nebraska shot, maybe people are seeing this. Nebraska shot 17.6% from deep, 45% from the free throw line, and covered at Michigan State. But like these guys both said, Michigan State stinks. That is about Michigan State. That is a Michigan State problem, not a Nebraska. Like, wow, they played good. Michigan State has no one that creates shots. I could do a whole Rocket Watts tangent. I won't right now. I'll focus on this one. Minnesota should dominate in the paint. Liam Robbins is the best and possibly only real big guy on the court here. Yeah. Marcus Carr should be dominant, even though Nebraska has some perimeter length. It's just a kind of a sloppy team. Nebraska takes bad shots. When somebody starts going on a run against them, Teddy Allen decides he needs to go hero ball and take a couple of bad, ill-advised threes. Minnesota has a little more of a stick the nail in the coffin type of attitude than Michigan State does. So definitely lean your way, Ky.
Thanks. Yeah, I do think it's a high possession game. I see the total's already been up to 148.5 from 146.5. So it seems like some sharps out there seeing it the same way you are. This game gets out of hand early. It could just be a up and down rec ball type of pace in the second half, which will bode well for the over. Also, some Matador defense could come into play there. So I think that would be a decent play on the total. But that concludes the outline key chunk of games. Let's go to best bets and recap tonight's plays. Ky, start us off.
Best bet Minnesota -10.5. I would take that hook. In Quinnipiac, Fairfield under 133. My 2 bets today.
There you go. I have not given my best bet yesterday. I'm going to the extra board. I'm taking Jackson State believe it is +4. Let me double check that. +4 in some places. Yeah, so I would take Jackson State +4. I just think this team is really feisty. They're tough to play against as an underdog. They changed defenses under Wayne Brent. Southern's lineup has been all over the place. LaMarcus Lee and Demiri Burns missed last game. They haven't really had a consistent unit going out there. Jackson State's got an Isaiah Williams from IUPUI. He's played the last 4. They're 3-1 against the number since he entered the lineup. I just like the way the spot sets up. I think this is also a coin flip kind of game, and I will take the points. I also had that under with Ky on Quinnipiac and Fairfield, and Gonzaga -11 are my 3 show plays.
Yeah, some overlap again, which usually spells doom, but hopefully that luck changes tonight. My best bet. Is it really? Oh, yeah, our consensus plays actually. Yeah, we are tracking that behind the scenes. We should add that to our little tracker sheet. That's a to-do maybe for us today. But my best bet. We have the overlap plays. We're not
the plays where all 3 of us are on are 15 and 10 this year.
15 and 10, yeah. So we should add that to our little thing. Yep. Kansas -5 is my best bet. Gonzaga -11. Miami +10 against the Heels. SMU -3 first half. Do not even mess with that hook, folks. You better buy to 3. There's a very high chance SMU wins this first half by 3 points. Let's just say that. And I'm also on the Quinny Fairfield under 133. And the hook, we got the hook on that, correct?
It's just 133.
133 straight up. There it is. And now to chat mob questions before we sign us off. Jim.
All righty, let's go. Andrew Carr from the Patriot League, Loyola, Maryland at Lafayette. The Greyhounds just got their first win against this team yesterday. Their shooting numbers have been crazy and ready for some regression. Oh, God, it looks like we're in jail. Loyola, Maryland, I kind of lean their way. It's been bet down a little bit, though, so I'm not going to give it the official recommendation where it's at. Matt, anything for you there?
Yeah, I took Loyola small. I won't give it as a recommendation just because I don't like betting on the sweep in these series.
It's down to 1.5, 2 also. So.
Yeah. They did get Isaiah Hart back last game, so he's now played 2 in a row. I think he's a key. He's basically their de facto point guard, so big addition for the Greyhounds.
Yep. From J-Man Johnson asking about Abilene Christian on the road at Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Big number here, boys, but the matchup scares me a little bit. Texas A&M Corpus Christi turns the ball over like crazy, and that's terrifying against Abilene Christian. Ky?
Yeah, the number's too high. I mean, it's probably not, but it's too high for me not to ignore it. To ignore it. I have a small play on the Islanders. I do not recommend it. That's what I'll say.
They got Jordan Harrison, one of their best players, back the last 2 games. Tough loss against Incarnate Word with them last game, but I think they get a better effort here. Hopefully they hold on to the ball for once. That would be nice.
John Doe wants to know about the Battle of Brooklyn. LIU hosting St. Francis Brooklyn. These 2 teams played a Sunday ago, and we're supposed to play again, but then there was the snowstorm up there. So, I lean towards, actually, I'll make the show play. Well, no, I won't. I won't take St. Francis on the show because we don't know the status of Chauncey Hawkins, their point guard.
He's huge.
LIU also potentially missing Jermaine Jackson. He was out last game for them, so there could be shorthanded backcourts on both sides. Not going to make anything a show play until we know their status. So
love the Terriers if Hawkins is in there, but until we confirm that, I can't make it a show play.
I agree.
All right. Eamon asking about Air Force at UNLV, a semi back-to-back. They both played on Saturday. I really like UNLV. The number isn't quite there, unfortunately, to recommend it. But they won by 10 last game, despite Air Force shooting out of their minds from deep. I think it was 16 of 35, and UNLV was 2 of 13 from deep, if I recall. Those are off the top of my head. But it was outrageous. And UNLV still won by 10. It made no sense.
A loser for me and Jim. I probably should go back to the well. But, the number I thought would open a little bit lower, but it's crept up there, so I'll stay away.
Up to 14, higher than last game, I think even closed. All right, 2 more games here. In the mountains, Oregon State hosting Colorado team that got up 19-2 against Arizona, let its foot off the gas on Saturday night. That was a bummer. And the Beavers knocked off Washington State narrowly. Matt, anything here? Any sort of angle in this game?
No, I finally respect the Beavers. I'm not going to poo-poo them anymore. Mr. McKeon was right in that little dispute. I think they've been feisty, they've been sneaky competitive. So I'm not going to go against them tonight here.
I lean the Buffs at home.
Yeah, I got absolutely nothing there. All right, last one. Jay Berry asked about North Carolina Central at Florida A&M. Another extra board game here. I'd certainly lean NC Central, especially just from like a preseason rating perspective. I just think they're better, but they were sloppy out of their shutdown against Florida A&M, a team that has not played a lot of games this year, just haven't gotten to play much because of COVID. Not many practices either. Lavelle Moten has talked about that. So yeah, lean towards NC Central, but not recommending it until we see more evidence from them. Ky, Matt?
I like the Eagles. Durham's hometown team, not Duke. Yeah, they played UNC to 6 points. It's a good team. I think the shutdown really bothered them. So hopefully now this is their fourth game. I think we see more of the caliber of team that we thought we'd see preseason, as you mentioned, Jim.
Yep. Yeah, I heavy lean towards NC Central. Jay, we talked about Stony Brook already. Jim, go ahead.
Yep, that's about it for Chat Mob. I got nothing else.
All right, I'll sign us off. I just want to clarify. I believe I mixed up my best bets. Miami is my best bet. Kansas is an official play, but not in the BB category. But both are great. Take them both, folks. Again, hey, line shop, SPRodds.com. That's what matters. That's what we're making plays based off. We're betting numbers. We're not giving you locks. We're just betting prices. That's what we're doing. Make sure you have that open. Line value continues to be king. SCRpicks.com/NCAAB. It's right there. Check it out. Lots of good stuff, as well as across all of the sport platforms that Sportsbook Review does content for. Well, we'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully our luck changes tonight. Until then, good luck.